If you've ever found yourself judging when you see another agent's success, and you've said to yourself, maybe they must have had it handed to them, or who gave them the leg up, or they grew up in a certain neighborhood and that's why they're successful, this episode is for you. All right, welcome back to another Reeducation Experience podcast with me, your host, Darren Langille. We are now on episode number 3 of this new rebooted format where we are basically, I'm calling it a podcast-powered coaching journey. So again, thank you again for being here. We're diving right in. Last episode, I walked you guys through, for the first time, anybody, my 7 C's. Well, in this episode, I told you we're going to go back and we're going to go and pick on C number 1, courage. And this is what we're going to unpack in this episode. And I'm going to give you a simple 3-step framework to walk you through this and prepare ourselves for this journey of C1 through C7. So I hope you're excited. And like I said at the beginning, you guys, if you've ever felt like you've had that little bit of judgment, you've ever thought that other people's success maybe wasn't earned. And I know all of us, we have that. It's so easy to feel a little jealous and wonder, well, why am I not getting that same success? I think on another side of this too, I want you guys to realize, if you've ever felt like the plan that you were about to create was a little bit scarier than you imagined, and as you get closer to taking that leap, you get a bit nervous. Again, this episode is why I wanted to put this out there. We all know that the best time to plant a tree, right? We've always been told this, that it's 20 years ago. And then we said, well, the second best time to plant a tree, the second best time is, well, now. And this is what courage is all about, right? We still know that we need the courage, my C equals 1, to start the journey. But for some reason, this has been holding us up and we're not making those leaps and the changes that we know we should in this business. Because I know as a coach, I often am here to remind agents more about what they need to do than to give them something new and shiny, right? It's not generally what we need. It's the problem that I want to explore and unpack and break down for us today. So we do have that courage to step over and take the leap. If we can't, you guys, if we can't find a way in our lives to allow ourselves to take that next step forward and to march, if we can't do this in our business and in our life, then everything that you listen to from this point onward in the podcast, in how you consume things, coaches you have and mentors, if we can't figure out how to just lift that foot off the ground and send it forward, nothing else matters. So we want to give you a way to kind of figure out how you can take courage into your business, into a daily practice for you every single day. So this is what we're going to unpack. I'd like to anchor a thought for you. Okay, I want to anchor this thought about courage. And this carries over from last episode, when we talked about fear, right? When we talked about fear, because we feel sometimes that to act, to lift that foot, to march forward, we have this fear that it's not going to work out, right? Oh, that didn't work out. We have that fear, so we don't step forward, we don't make that leap. But what if I tell you something else? And this is that anchoring thought. What if courage isn't the absence of fear? It's not that this just goes away, you guys, because that is kind of impossible. It's a human nature to have that fear and doubt and worry if the things are going to work. But what if it's more about the decision to make that start and start the path regardless of the fear being present? And that is different, because I don't think I can be here coaching you guys through to remove fear altogether. But I do believe I can help you to think of and give you the courage, and the courage is to act even though fear is still present. And that's the decision to part. And that is what is holding a lot of us back. So when I say that, this ability to take the step, even though fear is present, to know that courage is about that ability to move anyways. The anchoring message is, this is not a heroic leap. And I know when we start a big plan or we start a big journey, that we feel almost as if that it's like, I got to feel like a hero here. But I want it to know that it's a quiet commitment to just make that movement. And if we can turn it from needing to feel like I have to jump full in and that I have to know all the answers, and if I can turn it from being a heroic leap in our business and our world versus just a quiet commitment to myself that says, yeah, I'm going to start this journey. And that is where courage really lands. And that's the ability for us, no matter what gets thrown at us, you guys, in this real estate career, how much rubbernecking happening, how many things when you look over at your peers happen, will allow you to take number one, courage, and move the needle forward. When I was thinking about some of the lessons and things that I've learned over the years, and when I listen to podcasts and hear about people's stories, I love to go through the entrepreneur's journey with people. You know who comes to mind? It's funny that it does for me, but it's Sara Blakely. I don't know if you know her, but Sara Blakely, back in 1975, she had this crazy idea because she was not a designer. She had no sewing background. She had no marketing background, no business background, no nothing. But Sara had this idea to cut off the feet of her pantyhose, of all things, and to make it so that you could wear that underneath of outfits so that, I guess, women would feel better and things would be tightened up, so when you look better in your pants and your clothes. And she had this crazy idea. And back then, with no money, right? No experience in manufacturing and all this stuff, no connections in any industry, she just started moving. She had the courage to just face rejection after face rejection after face rejection. And to be honest, when I looked through her biography, it took her all the way till 2000. So 25 years of courage movements, micro commitments, little quiet steps forward, where finally her Spanx company hit the market. Can you believe that? 25 years. And this, I don't know if there's a better analogy for that courage to just move despite the fear being present and the unknowns, but just to have the courage to take quiet commitment steps regardless of our experience. And for those that have followed her journey, Sara, not only from the women's side of point of view, but I think she was one of the first billionaire women exits. And then even today, across all entrepreneurs, she's one of those that is well renowned to be on stages, and not just for women, but among all men, women, everybody, about her accomplishments. So I think we just need to have that frame to support ourselves. So courage, it doesn't wait, right? Those small steps, you guys, we don't have courage waiting till you feel ready, right? See, people with courage in our business, we never really do feel ready. And courage is that little micro quiet step, you guys, that allows us to say, we're going to go regardless. Because in reality, most of us aren't ready for the leaps that we're going to chase, the things we're going to take on. And that's the beauty of this, right? Shows up when the idea that we have to build our business, courage shows up and never leaves us. If you know that you want to build a business around listings, or you want to tackle social media, and you continue to have this thing coming back to you, but you haven't quite taken the leap, it's the courage, that quiet commitment, that is going to be the thing that propels us forward, right? In our case, in real estate, I always say we only need to be a half step ahead. And courage is to have that confidence that I'm half step ahead of where I'm going to go. I don't need the complete roadmap, and I can step forward, right? I was driving down, picking up my daughter from dance last night, and a big fog rolled in. And I'm driving down this very narrow road, and there's usually deer that come through at dawn and at dusk on this road. And I could tell you, even though with my big, bright Cadillac Escalade high beams, I couldn't see that far ahead of me. And the courage, like I've mentioned in other things, is just to keep moving, even though I don't know where exactly I'm going to go, right? This is the foundation that as long as we have that, if we understand that, the courage is just to say, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. but I'm going to go anyways. I'm a little bit nervous. I don't have all the answers. I'm a little bit nervous, but you just need that starting point, right? And maybe a little bit of guts to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to figure it out, right? Here's a tangible one. Many new agents come my world and they're doing their first open house, right? And they pick an open house. They get a first listing from a friend and they're doing it for the first time, but they don't know all of the objections that they're going to get. They don't have all the questions that a sophisticated buyer is going to come up, and they're going to feel a little bit icky and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm not as prepared. But what do we do, right? We've all hosted that open house for the first time and figured it out. We didn't know also, if you prepared and did all that work, that if anybody's even going to come. You don't know if all of the marketing you do is going to translate to any calls, right? You don't know, right? For leaders in this business listening, and I speak and I coach to a lot of young leaders that are now building a few agents on their teams. They don't know how to be a leader yet. They knew how to build their business. Now they're trying to figure out how to transfer the skills. But to say no to that new agent because you don't know the whole roadmap of the year forward would be a mistake. And that's where, again, courage comes in. It can be for the most junior things, or it could be somebody in a team leadership standpoint. And that's the beauty, right? We host the meetings. We make plans for the meetings. We actually do the meetings, not knowing if anybody's going to show up. I know for me at Redline, every time I host an event, I have no idea if I'm going to have 30 people or 3, or there might be standing room only. But I have the courage to make that quiet step forward as if it was, because I don't know the outcome. So I want to walk you guys through a 3-step kind of mini reframe that I hope can help you with this courage concept to kind of put it into practice with the things that I was talking to you about. So the first one, guys, I'm calling it shrinking the leap. All right. We want to shrink the leap. So what this means is, what is the next uncomfortable action step? That's it. Rather than I'm going to become a YouTube video star, what is that courage, quiet moment, which is the next uncomfortable action step, right? We want to worry, in this case, about not all the steps, but just let's worry about motion. Meaning the whole job of courage and shrinking the leap is just, can we get and finally move into motion? Okay? Maybe it's create that video outline. Maybe it's defining the script for my reel. Maybe it's writing the bullet points for my email newsletter. Maybe it's researching the top 5 things happening in Calgary right now for the future database contact. Just what is that next step? And right, worry turns to just what is going to make me move and push the needle downward. All right. Number 2, though, around this concept of courage, I think this is very important. Anchoring the why. Anchoring your why. When I find that agents aren't making steps forward, and we're going to talk about all of this and the C's, oftentimes it's really clear to me quickly that they don't know why they're chasing this. They know they're in business. They know they're trying to get sellers and buyers. But the why, about why I'm going to hustle, why I'm going to challenge myself, why I'm going to blank, 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 has to be pretty rooted for us to get through this kind of fear-based industry, because most of us have entered it without prior sales experience, without prior marketing experience. And because the world is changing so fast, none of us are actually fully equipped to handle all the things that are coming. So there is this constant unknown, and it's this courage, the C number 1, that we need to figure out. Right? We need to get clear on what matters more than your fear. Write that down. You need to get clear on what matters more than your fear. And that's hard. I know it's hard, but the moment you land on it, it pulls you, right? I'd ask you to think about this, write this down, and also ask this question of, why does this matter? What happens if I never do it? Oh, right? If I never do it. And then maybe that helps you root to the why of why you're doing this all. if you never take on that community door knocking plan to go introduce yourselves to the neighbors, and if you never go down this path because you don't have a big network, or you don't like online leads, or you don't want to be a YouTube star, what if I never take this opportunity on? What will happen? Well, you won't hit your goals. Your goals are, for some reason, maybe it's to fund your kids' schooling. Maybe it's to upgrade the house. Maybe it's to buy your first place, to pay off your student loans, to support the fund money in the family. Whatever you're listening to this for and why that is, you need to root this in. So get clear on what matters more than the fear. Courage comes when, right? When the pull of that purpose, the pull of the purpose matters more than the push of the fear, because it's trying to get us out of here. Do you hear that again? Right? The courage comes when our pull of the purpose, the anchoring of this why, is stronger than the push of fear. And I think that's incredibly important for us as we're trying to seek to figure this out, right? Fear is always going to tell us, guys, fear is always going to tell us, what if it fails? But your why is going to say, well, what if it works? What if it works? Is the courage side of the equation. Okay, step number 3. Expect to suck. There it is. I've given you permission to suck at first. Okay? To suck at first, right? I want you to have zero pressure to make that leap, right? That why might be big, but we know, right? We know we need to make that movement. We need to anchor back to the why. And now you have zero pressure to just click send. Zero pressure to just go forward, right? Your first of anything is going to be so far from perfect, but it is the price of entry. It's the price of entry for anybody who's ever done anything worthwhile. And you and I just have to interview our most successful friend. Maybe it's in this business, maybe you have a musician friend, maybe you have an artist friend, or we just listen to anybody who's done anything, right? The first of anything won't be perfect. I personally stumbled upon, back in 2015, I was doing my first videos for listings, and I was starting to break into the luxury bracket for the first time. And I found this old YouTube channel. I actually had never known where all these old listing videos had gone. And I was watching it, and my kids came in, and they saw me walking into the camera, walking down and trying to be all cool and suave and do my first introduction to this luxury film, which is actually just up the way from where I'm sitting today. And it was atrocious. I didn't look the part. I looked uncomfortable. But again, I took action. I didn't know what I was doing, but we figured it out anyways, right? So the courage muscle, as you find these quiet moments to move and think of motion as the goal, not the perfectly finished result, that courage muscle that you build will just build and build as you go. And it's funny enough, when I go back to my own example about the what ifs around finally doing something like this, when I go back to the old video channels, and I've never been one to build a big subscription base, I have never put a ton of energy around maximizing YouTube. But despite that, videos like this, podcasts that I shoot, whether they have high downloads or high views or high engagement, literally every single time I have that little moment of doubt to say, is that road worth doing? A call comes in, a lead shows up, a comment on the YouTube channel. And every one of those revalidates that the effort we put in, as long as we took motion, will help us in our businesses. And I'm a personal walking testimonial, because coming into this business, I had no sales skills, no marketing skills, completely introverted. I remember speaking on a stage for a sports banquet, because at least I was good at sports. And the page was shaking so much that it literally fell out of my hand. I remember this going back to grade 12 and speaking to the sports kids. You just don't know, right? I feel we all have that fear of doubt and that doubt, but the courage is just that ability to just find the motion in it. So today, I want you guys to think about that, the 3 steps, right? We got number 1, can we shrink the leap? Number 2, can you anchor it, your why, right? Can you anchor that why? And remember that statement I said, right? The pull of purpose has to be stronger than the push of fear, and this helps you. And then the third one is just give yourself permission, like I have here on this audio, permission to suck. So if we're going to leave you today, because I always want to leave you with something, and we are going to unpack this inside of a live workshop. So again, make sure you go to reeducation.school. Join Rome, my Realtors on a Mission free community, where all of the workshops and the resources that come from the podcast, worksheets that I develop specifically from the content I'm sharing, will be there for you to download and utilize, and then hopefully come live with me so that we can explore this podcast-powered journey. While we're waiting for that, what's the one act of courage I think you guys know you're putting off? Find the one thing, right? We know, and it's as cliche as it comes, your career, the career of your dreams, the thing that's going to realize that why for you is on the other side of it, right? So find the one act that I know you've been putting off, and let's quietly find that moment to step forward, right? Next week, you guys, we are going to unpack one of my favorite C's, and it's the one I do talk a lot about, but I can't tell you what it is yet. So look forward to that, and I hope to see you inside of Rome and where we can unpack this for you even more. Thanks for listening.